This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand, providing high-strength formulations to support recovery, elevate energy, and relieve joint inflammation for endurance athletes.
That your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Undercover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 235 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thanks for joining us for another week on the show. Big show coming at you. Sydney 10 results to go through, some action over in America to talk about with some Australians in action over there. Listener question, New Balance 860 version 12 review coming a bit later on as well. Training talk thanks to Lululemon. It's all happening in this show. Moose on the loose, and then a few bits of general business to talk about at the very end of the show. Welcome to my co-host up in Canberra. Nearly broke the internet yesterday with his big result at the Sydney 10. And in the left corner this week, Bradley Croker. Welcome.
Thanks, Brady. It was good to get it over and done with, actually. Like last week was pretty tough in terms of I get real, like some races I just get real anxious for, and it really affects my sleep, like even days out. So it was good to get it done and get back home, but I was happy with how it went.
So you're back home now, you're in Canberra?
Yeah, so yep. I drove home pretty much straight after the race. I got home about lunchtime yesterday.
I'm sure we'll get into all the details shortly. And my other co-host in the right-hand corner this week, Julian Spence. Welcome to this week's show.
He's been coming up with this all week, hasn't he?
I just wanted to get the elephant in the room, just get it out early. Have you two guys kissed and made up? We're back friends or what? A bit of heat in last week's episode? A few DMs about last week's episode.
We're all right. Just, sometimes I think Moose needs to be called out, that's all. Can't let him have his own way all the time.
Called him out, all right.
Called him out. I mean, geez, it's almost like you've never told Brady that he's doing something.
The old wise man title's gone from you too, Moose, I think, after his performance yesterday. He called it last week on the show that maybe he's the new wise man with this training philosophy, and then maybe he delivered. I wonder what time he would have had to run to take that title.
Well, I mean, let's age grade it and let's see how we went for the race. I think Lisa Weightman's we just spoke about that guys over 40 can't use that as an excuse anymore in the current generation. Mate, it's a speedway there based on the times.
Yeah.
Let's. Why don't you tell us about your race, Bradley?
Yeah, well, tell us about the week leading into it, Brad.
Oh yeah.
Pulled up tired Monday after smacking a long run Sunday.
Monday out 4:11s. It's all right, actually. And then treadmill Tuesday morning. Headed out to the track that afternoon for a session. So did 5 by 800 off a 4-minute cycle and 4 by 400 off a minute rest. And so I ran like 223, I think 222, 222, 218, 220 for the 800s. So a bit quicker than, I guess, what I was hoping to run for the 10K. And then the 400s were between like 65 and 67. So like it was a solid session, but I felt like because it was a Sunday race that it was far enough out that I could get away with it. But in hindsight, like this is a session that like probably would have done maybe 10 days out instead of 4 or 5, because I did actually pull up with like a little bit of DOMs from the track, which I get more DOMs from the track than I do from short hill reps. But look, I was happy with the way the session went. Probably a little bit faster than I needed to run, but I was basically just jogging the rest of the week. So Wednesday, another hour, 4:08. Then Thursday, I just did 50 minutes on the treadmill, 4:39s. Friday, headed out to Mulligan's for 45 minutes, 4:07s, and then Saturday, just 35 minutes on the treadmill, and a few sort of strides on there, because it was a real shitty day here Saturday, like pissing down rain, windy. I'm like, I'm only doing 35 minutes, so I'll just jump on the treadmill. So that was 4:48s on the treadmill, a few strides, then drove to Sydney, stayed at a dodgy little budget hotel on Liverpool Road, about sort of a 5-minute drive from Homebush. And then the race. So I guess leading up to the race, I don't think we've really spoken about this much in like however many episodes, but like anxiety before races. I've always been somebody that does get quite nervous, sometimes like days in advance. So like last week I had really shit sleeps on Monday and Tuesday night, and then I slept okay Wednesday because I was just so tired from not sleeping for 2 nights. And then I find with this whole insomnia thing, and like once it happens once or twice, you then start to like panic when you go to bed that it's going to happen again. So I got to like, when was it? Friday night, and I said to Viv, look, I'm just going to take a like sleeping tablet just so I make sure I get a good night's sleep like 2 nights before the race. So I took like temazepam on Friday night, knocked me out, woke up Saturday morning, felt okay, a little bit groggy. And then on Saturday night, I felt tired. I did fall asleep. And then, because it was like really busy road where I was staying, like I woke up again at like 10 o'clock and I couldn't fall back to sleep. So I actually took another sleeping tablet around 10 o'clock, which I was umming and ahhing whether to do it, because I knew that if I took a sleeping tablet at 10 o'clock and I'm getting up at 5 o'clock, like it's probably still going to be like well and truly in my system. So
how much did you take? Did you take a full tablet?
Yeah, full tablet of temazepam.
That's a fair bit.
Yeah, it is. So like alarm went off at 5 o'clock and I woke up and I was like drowsy. And so then you do the opposite. Then you start taking the caffeine and the caffeine tablets to then try and get yourself up. So like one thing though is like once I get to the race, like once I drive there and get out of the car, like I'm not really that nervous. It's more just in the days leading up. Which I don't know what it is. Like I reckon it's probably a combination of things. And like one is that I don't race that often, and maybe this is one reason why I don't race that often, because I hate this feeling that I have in the lead up. But I don't want to come across like wanky, but like I sort of pride myself on like being really consistent when I race and like not having bad races. And so when I go into it, I just have really high expectations for what I want to achieve. I think another reason as well is like you just sort of want the race to be over and you just hope that the result is a true reflection of sort of what shape you're in. And the last reason probably that is tomorrow's race or this weekend's race going to be the day where when it starts to hurt, I just pussy out and just, basically jog it in, which I feel like for me, if I do that once, that's going to become a habit and I'm pretty much done, because I don't feel like I've ever done that. And I sort of respect people that go out there and will have like 3 shit races but don't care about it and then come out and blast one. I'm just not that type of person. So anyway, that was my week leading in. So then warmed up with Archie and Nath and felt pretty good warming up. Strides felt awesome, and that's one thing I love about nerves before a race is like you feel so like those nerves give you that little bit of extra pop when you're sort of doing strides. And in terms of the race, Gum went and the front pack just took off. Like within 300 meters, like there was the top 6, and it was like, all right, well, they're going to be the top 6 for the day. And then I just sat in the second pack, which I thought there'd be a lot of guys around that 30 minutes to 30, and I just had the stopwatch on, looked down at about a K, and we're sort of around 3 minutes, maybe just a touch under. And then I just tried to relax early, kept sort of looking every sort of kilometre, and I was just sitting around 3-minute Ks. And I really thought to myself that, all right, this is the group that I need to try and beat. Got to probably 4K. A few of those guys had dropped off, but then a few of the guys actually started to surge. And by this stage, I'm still hovering around 4-minute Ks, like, probably going 3-minute Ks, probably going through like 12:08, something like that through 4K, which was faster than I'd initially sort of planned. Like I originally thought, look, if I can hover around 30 to 31 minute pace and then sort of close well, I'd be happy with that. But I decided to let them go because, I was already running faster than I thought I needed to. And I thought some of them would actually come back. And so then by that point, I was pretty much on my own. I went through 5K in, I don't know, maybe like 15:05, 15, somewhere between 15:05 and 15:10, I'm sort of guessing. And basically just ran the last 5K on my own. I got to 7K, and by that, between 7 and 8K, I'm like, all right, this is the point where the lack of racing has definitely hurt me, because now I'm done. Now I just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other and hopefully just hold it together. The way I would try and compare it is, when you guys have done like a monofart, like you haven't done monofartlek for ages, or you're just coming back into training, you go and do monofartlek and you get sort of 3/4 of the way through it, and the last sort of 5 minutes, there's not a lot of pace change, you're just grinding, but then you come back in 2 weeks' time and you've got a little bit more to give in that last 5 minutes. So for me, that last 2K was more about just holding on, and I just kept telling myself that, all right, this is where sort of being older, you don't actually fade as much as some of the younger guys do. And I actually did help hold it together pretty well. Like I think my slowest K in the whole race was like 3:06. And thankfully I was actually on my own, so I could sort of just focus on my own rhythm. Whereas if other people were around, I may have sort of cooked it between sort of 8K and 9K. So I'd say I ran a good 7 to 8K, but just didn't have that race conditioning to sort of be able to really bring it home over the last 2K. But I think having done the race, that will sort of bring me up, hopefully. And if I was to go back in 3 weeks' time, I'd have a little bit more over that last 2 to 3K.
30:26, 12th position. Who said that?
Yeah, 30. Yep. Yeah. So I was happy with it.
Pretty deep field to come 12th in. Nearly get top 10.
Yeah. So fair few. Well, there's a lot of interstaters compared to probably a lot of other years. So if you look at like, I guess how many New South Wales runners were, I was probably like 6th or something like that. But look, I'm happy the way that my fitness is built. So like, I had my calf in December, January, then COVID, and so I started back sessions early Feb. And it was probably about that point that I said, look, I'm going to use this, comfortably hard sort of training as a bit of an experiment, and then just see how it goes at Sydney 10. And like, I'm happy with how the race went off the type of training that I've been doing. If I had to do anything differently, if I wanted to race faster at Sydney 10, I just needed to do something harder in the couple of weeks beforehand. But I'll keep training the way that I have been, because it seems to be working pretty well.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? That training is more base preparation type training, and then once they get closer to events, that's when they start to do the really tough stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, which is what you missed. So, like if you put Sydney 10 maybe another 2 months away from now, which there probably is a race like that, maybe Gold Coast 10 or something.
Then 10.
Yeah, one of those. You could switch the training across now. And that's a good way to test it.
Yeah. I don't think he needs to, though. I'd keep doing this, because you're covering the ground well and you're not getting injured and you're enjoying your running and stuff.
It's more sustainable. To do this.
Yeah, and look,
even
if I ran shit on the weekend, I would have still come on tonight and said, you know what, I'm still going to train the way that I have been, because, as you said, it is sustainable, and it's also enjoyable. I think to run well off this type of training, you need to race regularly, though. Or at least do one really hard effort once every 3 to 4 weeks, which, we spoke about a few weeks ago. It was like sort of that Crichton mentality of you train comfortably hard and let the races bring you up. So after having done Sydney, that will hopefully stimulate a bit of an improvement in my overall fitness. And so maybe my training level will just go up a little bit for the same effort. And then in 3 weeks' time, I find, another race, or I do a hard time trial, and then that brings you up. But the training remains comfortably hard. Yeah,
as long as you don't chase that thing that's going to bring you up. Say you've been doing all your threshold work at 3:20. You don't want to do this race now and then go, okay, I've got to do it all at 3:15 because I've had a race.
Yeah,
you just keep it at 3:20.
Like the thing I loved about it was like I haven't run a 2K rep at 3-minute Ks, and I was able to string together almost 10 of them. And so it shows that you don't necessarily need to be doing, super quick stuff to run well. That being said, like the lack of hard efforts was definitely showing in the last 2K because I just didn't have that pop because of, I just haven't done that sustained hard running.
Yeah. Yeah. And that will come though. Like that's, I think you need to change it at some point. Like Brady said, keep going like this, but you won't, like you said, you miss that VO2 stuff.
But he's getting that from his 400-meter reps on the track. Like you just said.
Well, not really. Like he's not doing them. They're not long enough to get that.
I
spoke to Christian a few weeks ago, and I was almost going to do this. So he mentioned that one of the Ingebrigtsen sort of tapering sessions is 5 by a K with 2 minutes recovery between each. And what they do is they start the first rep at sort of 10K pace, and then they work down to the last K being at 3K pace, and then they give themselves decent, 5 minutes recovery, and then they'll do 4 to 5 300s off 1 minute recovery. Like I reckon that would be a pretty solid session to bring you up 10 days out from a race. So that's something else I might look at, going into another race.
Is there a Canberra cross country series that you can do?
Yeah, they do. It's not they used to have a club system here, but it's pretty weak.
Brad's too big time for that moose. Go to Launceston 10. I'm going down, Croaks. We'll go down.
Steve Monaghetti used to do the Ballarat local brack races, and he used to do that while he was an absolute superstar, best in the world.
Yeah, but that's a good thing about park runs now. Like I used to use them as my hard efforts if I didn't have any major races coming up.
Yeah, no, but you just said Crichton's the same, racing every week or so to get that hard effort outside of training. I think it's a great idea.
And it might be good for this anxiety stuff as well, because the problem is when you don't race that often, it probably you build it up a bit more. Whereas if you're racing regularly, you might have a few more shit ones because you're racing more regularly, and you're maybe not quite as stimulated mentally or emotionally about it. But yeah, I know that there's a half marathon here in 3 weeks around the lake, which I did in 2017. So I might go and do that as a solid effort, especially if I look to pace Gold Coast again, which I haven't locked anything in there, but I wouldn't mind doing that again maybe.
I reckon Launceston 10, June 12th, Croaks. I've just looked it up, 2022.
Maybe. Are you going down?
Yep. We should see if we can go down together. Remember last time me and you went to Tassie?
Yeah.
Come over with all the chocolates. That'd be good.
I had mentioned it to Viv. So it's a long weekend that weekend.
Yeah,
so
Queen's birthday.
It could work pretty well.
Are you going to bring the family?
No. I think Viv's going to visit her uncle or something. So it could be an option.
You're nearly back. You'll be right running by then. 3-way head to head. Here we go. I'm a bit scared, Croaks, now, Bruce. June 12th.
Got me covered.
So
one thing I am excited about though is I feel like that longer sort of half marathon fitness is I think to run 30, 26 off the type of training that I'm doing, I feel like the strength is coming back. So maybe I'll look at doing some of the longer stuff down the track again, but we'll just see.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Bradley, because I started looking at some records today to plan your next possible race. And just remind me, are you 41 or 42?
So I'm 42 in August.
Do you know what the Australian 42-year-old Australian marathon record is?
No.
It's gettable. 2:21:19 from past guest Rowan Walker at the Gold Coast in 2012. Now, as a 41-year-old, you got to run 2:19:00. As a 43-year-old, you got to run 2:19:56. So this one's actually the easier one in the middle there. So
it'll be 42, yeah.
You've got to be 42. 2:21:19.
So it's got to be after August.
After August, so Melbourne. Tough hilly course at the end there. But I reckon we get our man Christian to get us into Valencia. We go over there, boys trip, Spain.
Could be an option.
Put that idea away, you know what I mean? The last time you tried to go there, you got injured, you got those ghosts in the cupboard. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back in December. December marathons are good. You can relax over Christmas, those kind of things.
Yeah.
2:21.19. You could smoke that off 30:26.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, it was
He looks good, Moose. You see that photo of him? Jeez, he looks good for 41, doesn't he?
You know how I know he looked good? It's because he put it up and he filtered it, and gee.
No, that's how it came. I just shared. It was somebody else's story, so I just shared it. But it's easy to look good when you're doing strides.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, because everyone in the background's going up and down the road.
No, I didn't look close enough.
I'm working on looking that good for 10K, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Do we want to, because we're on Brad's week, do you want to stay here and talk about the event?
Yeah.
Do you want to do that? So we'll go to the women's race first, because this was a standout performance in my opinion. Lisa Weightman got the win at 31:20. It was a 30-second road PB. She just missed the Australian road 10K record that Benita Willis has by 3 seconds. Second fastest Australian over the 10K road of all time. Fastest Australian ever on the road for 10K on Australian soil, I believe. And is the only people to go quicker than her on the track. Because I think 10K road, 10K track are pretty similar. I think most people, when you look at their 10K road, 10K tracks, I don't know, maybe they're not. I just know because mine's pretty similar. Benita,
mine is.
Yeah, mine's real similar. Benita, Lisa, Ondieki, Eloise and Ali are only the 4 people that have run quicker than that on the track. Leanne Pompeani was second in 31:43. That was also a 71-second PB off her track PB. And Jessica Noble was third in 33:31. So some big results there. Up front, boys. Comments, what did you see, Brad? Did you see him on the out and back when you're doing the U-turns?
No, I was so in the zone. I didn't see anyone. Yeah, so no, I didn't see any of the race at all from the women's point of view.
This is a phenomenal result, 31:20. This is very, very fast. Lisa's not young.
You just. I mean, look at the girls who've been. The probably the most relevant reference at the moment is look at the girls who haven't achieved the qualifying time that have been chasing it. Rose Davies, Izzy Bat-Doyle. Well, they're our top 2 at the moment. You'd have to say, wouldn't you?
Yep, definitely.
Well, we haven't. I mean, Jess Hull hasn't had a crack at the 10K yet, really. So we don't get her a chance. Eloise Wellings was second at Zatopek. Yeah, it was a warm night, but they haven't really come close. And so this is just outstanding.
When we always get excited about Zatopek when they go to attack it at Zatopek and they kind of maybe go out at that pace but drop off a bit later on and kind of run close to 32. This is, significantly quicker than that 32 kind of mark that they're finishing off in. I don't know what to say. It's like, if you told me 1st of January that Lisa is going to be ahead of those names you just mentioned, Moose, at, the start of May, over 10K, because I thought, she's definitely, I've got to be pegged as like a half marathoner, not a 10K. If she can do this on the track, she goes to the World Champs, Com Games. She's inside 31:25.
Our best marathoners have always been good 10K runners as well.
Yeah. I agree.
So I don't think that's massively different. It's just this time. I mean, remember when Sinead and Ali ran 32? It was close to 32 flat at Launceston, and that was incredible at the time. It was like maybe top 10 all time, and everyone was going, how is this possible? These girls are running so fast. And then this is 40 seconds quicker. This so it is a standout performance, and especially around no one's even come close to running that fast for a long time.
Where'd Benita do hers on the road?
I don't know the answer to that. I was wondering that.
I'll see if I can look it up. Any other comments? What does it mean for potential? Lisa hasn't got the World Champs time for the marathon, but she could potentially go for discretion for the Commonwealth Games. Got to help her with the selectors, doesn't it? Putting a time like this down. I know
it's a tricky question. It's tough to get into that because we don't know who's. Like you listed off a few names the other night about who was sort of looking to nominate or whatever. We don't know the answers to that. So, I mean, it can't hurt. When you run that fast on the road, it can't hurt at all. You've got to like it.
I just love, because, we haven't seen her since the Olympics. So, whatever has changed in her training is, she's fit. I know... I felt like I've been going pretty well, and and she's less than a minute behind me. Like if she can convert that sort of fitness into like half/marathon, she's got a big one in her, that's for sure.
Yeah. Look, the course isn't certified. We have to mention that. This is probably another conversation to have, but there's courses like Launceston who are certified with World Athletics. They use the AIMS, which again, another conversation on top of that is like, it's a bit of a stitch up, the whole AIMS thing, because it's quite expensive and not many people can do it, certify a course. And so this, like Sydney 10 isn't certified. So it's obviously measured by the race, but it isn't World Athletics certified road race. So if the problem with this is if Lisa goes and say she had to run an Australian record, maybe she runs she was only 3 seconds off it. So, I mean, it's every chance. It would have been really disappointing for it to not count.
I wonder can they do it retrospectively?
I don't know. That'd be hard.
This is the one thing that I always have hated about road races. Because if you look at how many road races or fun runs there are in the country and how many of them are certified, it's not a very big percentage.
I've got the list up right now, actually.
Well, as a percent, but as a percentage, it wouldn't be that many, would it? Like
the ones from state bodies though usually would be, wouldn't they?
There's actually quite a
what's on the list then?
The state bodies don't, because I think it's too expensive.
Is Albert Park 10K?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So for Melbourne, I had a quick look before. I'm just going to list out the relevant. There's only a few. So Melbourne half, Melbourne full, Melbourne 10K, run Melbourne 10, run Melbourne 5. Now there might be some smaller suburbs, but that's it from Melbourne. You've got Perth though. Perth has heaps. Perth has tons of races that are certified. So to me, this, like what I'm looking at, I'm going, there's someone in Perth who does this certifying for a lot cheaper price, because it looks like every race there is certified. But then there's some odd ones like Shepparton half, Shepparton full, certified courses.
Yeah, and then they market that as if you want to run an official Boston
qualifier.
Yep.
That's right.
So that's why they pay for that, to then try and get the entries for people that need a legit measurement of their courses qualified. Yeah, which I like.
In Sydney, you've got a few odd ones here and there, but then you've got the Western Sydney 10K and the Western Sydney 5K. So, they're not mad.
Sydney Harbour 10, is that there?
Sydney Harbour 10 is there, correct?
But when you look at it as a percent, when you look at how many fun runs there are around the country, like every single weekend, there's not many that are certified, which there's always been that grey area of, people claim, even park runs, like park runs are meant to be 5K, but some of them aren't.
But are we calling this a fun run?
No, it's not.
Sydney 10?
But the question always comes up when people run fast. It's like, well, if it's not on the track, then potentially there's like a question mark, which, look, I guess at the end of the day, it isn't certified, but I don't think it would be far out, because I don't know, I thought I was in somewhere around that 30-30 sort of shape. Conditions were amazing. If you look at just a couple of examples, and it's hard looking at just particular people, but Tommy DeCano ran 28:35 on the track at Zatopek, ran 28:57 at Sydney 10, and then not long after that, Sydney 10 ran 62:13 at Launceston half, which Launceston is certified, and if you're running 62:13, you should be running 28:57 at 10.
But Brad, the front pack shouldn't be included in this conversation because they're it's a race up front. So it's different. I think you need to take the backer packers and the mid packers who just race for time every single time. They're not slowing down. They're not surging, that kind of.
The problem with mid packers though, they're the ones that often don't have a lot of training history behind them, and they're, so they run PBs, big PBs, and quite regularly because of how much running they're doing. I think in a way you look at, especially some of these. Anyone that goes to Sydney 10 and anybody that goes to Launceston generally goes there to run fast. And so they are generally fast races. I'd have to bring up Tommy's splits from Sydney 10 last year to see whether it was pretty consistent. So I'd almost say that you're better off looking at the guys that have been out there for a long time and are quite consistent.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can pick one out, because if we're gonna do that, you can look at. I mean, I don't want to do it to individuals. I'm not going to do it to them. But if you want to pull out one person who's been running around for a long time and give an example of how fast they were in this race, like, we can do that.
But it's not like the old triathlon. Remember, I think there was a world championship triathlon where the last 10K they ran it in like 26 minutes or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Let's say it's 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Like that puts Lisa at 31:35, which is like 15 seconds, which is still like
amazing,
flying. You know what I mean?
It's still a good time, right? It's still a great time, but it ain't 31:20.
But it's just a shame that it can't be used for record purposes, and that's why I think. And I know James messaged us today that the fact now that Sydney 10 is getting such a good reputation of being a fast course, like, they have to get it certified, because you'll get somebody that'll come along and run a national record, and it needs to be certified.
Yeah, I think it does. If you're going to market the course to elites, I think we need it. If it's a fun run, sure, whatever. If it's 14K, yep, whatever, doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think you're right. If we're going to talk about records and you've got the best in the country, they're banging it out. It'd be nice to know that there's that. I know I had a look today. I read the AIMS document on how to certify a course. I get why no one does it.
What about the ones where
complicated?
Especially imagine trying to certify a marathon course that goes on major roads. Like, you've got to be out there at 2 a.m. when there's no traffic whatsoever to try and do it. It's I don't. Yeah, there's some pretty crazy rules and calculations. But one thing I saw was that the certified courses, I think it says they're encouraged to have an allowance of every kilometre 0.1. So for every kilometre, they should measure it and mark it at 1.001. Yeah. So over 10K, it's 10.1. So if you went to a certified road race, like say Launceston, it's most likely 10.1 kilometres. Yeah. That's why marathons, which is rough, which means that you're running, you're running further than 10K.
I'm a sub 29:30 guy, boys.
Yeah. So, but I think, look, the takeaway is that, Lisa, we haven't seen her since the Olympics, but she's bloody fit.
She's coming out with a bang.
Shout out to Leanne Pompeani as well, because she finished second in 31:43, and she's massively on the up. She ran, I think, 70:40 for the half in Melbourne, and then took a big chunk off a 5K PB at Nationals with in the 15:20s. So she's one to watch over the next months and years as well. And Jess Noble was third in 33:31, which we gave her a shout out. Was it last week? I think it was the week before.
For Patreon.
Yeah. Yep.
Jeez, how good is that? We've got the Patreon supporters getting on the podium. The record,
man.
Well, they're just got to go the record. That's Benita Willis from Manchester, 31:17, May 2006.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I don't. You tell me the men's. I don't have it up. Sorry.
The men's results. Yeah. Well, this was a breakthrough for Kieren Perkins. Often gets spoken about on this show, Kieren Perkins. Long time.
Do you know why though?
Because of his name. But long-time listeners will know that. When we did that race at Bankstown, remember when we drafted runners and stuff?
Yeah, the Inside Running Challenge.
Yeah. Kieren Perkins was on my team, the winning team.
Yeah.
He's a good bloke.
What did he run then?
I reckon he ran about 14:20. It's 14:25.
I think he was a bit quick. I think it was a bit quicker than that.
14:15-ish. It was pretty wet that night. They didn't go super fast. Anyway, he's come out and ran 28:57, 42-second personal best there. Kieran Tall, the second Kieran in the race, was 29:16. Liam Boudin from Queensland, Gold Coast Run Co. He was third in 29:21. So he's won pretty convincingly there, boys. 19 seconds.
He surged with about 2K to go, maybe.
He put him away, yeah.
Bit of a loose unit, apparently. I got word that he got in a bit of a Barney on his run the other day.
He's in the army,
group
isn't he?
Up in Queensland.
Yeah,
big unit as well.
Big unit, good looking
fella. Shares the name of a famous swimmer.
Supposedly, yeah.
But another one to watch over the next
Broken
year or two.
14 on the track this year. Come to running pretty late in life, hasn't he? Let's get him on for an interview. He'd be good to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
strong body.
Don't know what he's about.
Real strong body.
In the Alphas too, Moose. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see much of this.
Winning 10Ks in the Alpha Flies.
Well,
the Alphas.
Did you?
Yep.
Jeez. I always thought the Alphas were too clunky for 10Ks, but two guys proved me wrong here.
I just felt that they would protect me a bit more. They just felt like a bit spongier than the Next Percent 2.
Next Percent 2. They're too firm, the second Next Percents.
That being said, I have pulled up with like a little bit of DOMs, but like good DOMs. So like my glutes are a bit tender. So I actually quite like that when I get some DOMs in my glutes, because it means that I've been working them. So that's good.
Good result. We pulled up with 2 stressies and plantar fasciitis this morning, but you're all right.
I'm okay at the moment.
So good results there. Kieren Tall was the course record holder, wasn't he? But I think they just missed the course record, Kieren Perkins. So good race there. I think 5 under 29.30. Anything else?
Good run from your man, Nate
Stote, who you warmed up with, 29.30. Yeah, it's going well, Nate Stote.
He's on the up, and like you'd say that he's in sort of that 29-30 shape at the moment, based on what he's been doing.
Yeah. He's fitter than me when I ran 29.34 on the track.
There you go.
Have a listen to Brad stepping up for his course. I reckon a few years ago we had the same conversation, but you were on the other side of the fence talking about Sydney.
Imagine
I'm
if
I didn't go.
If I'd run like 29.35, I'd definitely be saying, it's fully legit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a PB for me. But look, I'm happy with where I'm at and what I ran.
And the event as a whole, Croaks, was it good being back in the running community, signing some autographs, getting some photos? I see a few listeners sent through photos with you.
Yeah, a couple of photos. It was good. As I said, I'd sort of just the whole anxiety leading up to it. Like the day itself was good. But yeah, I don't know. Running for me now, it's difficult going to these events, because like when I used to go to a lot of events, it would be you're going there to race your mates, and most of the people that I used to race against aren't really racing anymore. So I either try and start up some rivalries with some young kids, but it just has a different feel to it now. I do feel like a bit of an old man there sometimes.
I still would have smacked up a few kids.
Yeah.
And a big shout out, we did run a bit of a competition on our social media. 3 people guessed your time exact, Brad. Bob Matheson, Leah Willis and Alan Shields. I'm not sure if Shieldsy counts, because he said DNS, or if he races, your time exactly, 30.26. So he didn't have much faith on you adding that in there, but then he did guess the correct time.
Well, you can scrap him if he's scrapping from predicting it right.
I'll give it to him. So that's pretty cool. 3 people got the exact one. I think at the end of the show last week, I reckon I said 30.25. So I think
you said 30. Oh no, you thought there'd be a bit of wind around, so you went like closer to 31 minutes.
I think I said 30.50 because the weather's not going to be good, but 30.25 is the shape you're in.
It was perfect weather.
So I'll take that. It wasn't meant to be perfect, so it must have changed.
Yeah, each day got a bit better.
That's good. Moose, do you want to tell us about your week?
Oh,
we're still got to do this. I was about to go on to the next bit of running news, and I'm like, we're still at the start of the show.
Well, I didn't. Oh, do you?
Man, you can whip through. We'll whip through.
I rode a little bit, and I got out with Brett for a ride actually.
Brett Coleman.
So yeah, he loves getting involved with stuff. He's the president of the Surf Coast Mountain Bike Group or something. I also rode with Watto. So Watto, it was down staying in Geelong. He did a workout, so he's getting ready for Great Ocean Road. He did 7K, 5K, 3K, 1K with 1K floats in between. So yeah, good to have him down in Anglesea and getting fit. Watto is, so keep an eye out for him. 2 weeks. Then I went out the next day and went for a course record up this big long climb. And if you look at the heart rate data here, I've gone from 120 to about 180 heart rate within 10-15 seconds. I could never do that running. I would always have some sort of plateau through that, but I'm not very good at managing my effort. And so that was a really, really hard effort. And then I was cooked for the rest of the ride. That was. I didn't get it, by the way. I was 5th, maybe.
Don't you find you recover though, Moose, on the bike? I remember I did this like 160k ride once when I was like not running at the time, and at the start of it there was this really hard hill climb, and like I got full lactic to the point that I thought I was going to have to actually get off my bike. But then once you got over the top of the hill, like 5 minutes later, you sort of feel like you're almost fully recovered again.
Yeah, but this was like a hard effort into a false flat. And so after that I was okay. I was okay, but I was surprised at how much it did cook me for at least 5 minutes after the top of the hill. And this is what it must feel like for someone who goes running, who just slaps himself early in the run and has to limp home. I can see why people don't enjoy it. Yeah. Got out for a few paddles this week, which was nice. And then got out Sunday morning on the bike with the group. So rode out to the start point, then rode the loop with the guys, which was a solid little loop, about 27k through the trails, and then up the climb actually that I tried to get that record on. So it's been good, the bike, scouting out trails and fire roads, making loops, seeing which areas are in good nick and which areas aren't. So I used that more and then set the group up on Sundays. And today I ran. So today I did a minute on, minute off on the treadie at the gym and felt really good. So I didn't have any pain during, no pain after. So the comeback has begun.
Oh, when I saw the eyes emoji in your description, I thought that's good news. That means something's good's happening. I'm like, here he is.
See the eyes? It's like sideways eyes.
I love that emoji.
That's me going, oh, that's what's happening over there. Am I okay? Like, can I get excited about this, or should I just continue on my way of not getting excited? But I got excited. I mean, I'm back. I've entered Gold Coast. We're on.
You've entered Gold Coast?
I'm only kidding.
I was like, jeez, it's going to come in pretty quick.
The kids 2K?
I might
do around.
Got a 10k PB to take back. But do you know what I did today, Brad? Did some good activations before I ran.
Nice.
Make a difference?
Yeah, I didn't do hill reps, but did a few banded exercises.
Do you know how many people message me to say that it's eccentric loading that gives you DOMs and you don't get that from running up hills?
Oh, fuck off. You know what? Yeah, okay. So I go lift 120k tomorrow in the gym.
We're not doing this again.
You don't think I'm going to get DOMs from lifting 120k in the gym?
No, we won't do it again. But that were some of the messages that I received. Did you receive a few of those, Brady?
We got one to the Instagram account, Moose. So I tried to send in like studies and stuff, like a journal. I just said send it through to Moose, and they're like,
high profile too, a high profile,
very high profile Instagram influencer.
Oh boy, no, I got a lot of messages. Really enjoyed a little bit, and you know what? That's what keeps us going.
Yep. Hey, and that's authenticity of the show. If you think any of this stuff's scripted, definitely not. It's real life.
That wasn't scripted.
Hey,
scripted.
Moose, how's the group looking down there? Sunday group.
Well, it needs
going into Jells Park this week in Melbourne.
Oh, Geelong will be the strongest it's been in years. I can guarantee. Good. Yeah, I can guarantee you that. I think it's still getting knocked around with COVID a bit, but I reckon Gold Coast back on probably about 8 weeks out from that. So. Starting to see some boys show up for long runs. Got the girls group. They're doing a bit of breakaway stuff right now. We've got to get them back in the hard areas of the bush. But it was a good group on Sunday. Got going. Saw a few guys come off track season. Haven't really done many long runs. Red faces at the back of the group. It's a good feeling. I like to watch it. I like to watch it happen. Sundays are where it's made, aren't they? That's where a runner is made, on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, best running day of the week, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Most important run of the week.
It is. I'm going to tell you about my week. I started on Monday. I rolled my ankle last Sunday. Remember that? I think I told you about it last week. And Monday I went out for a jog. This was Anzac Day. And it just didn't feel right. It wasn't that painful, but I just felt like I was favouring it a bit, which then I was worried that I could potentially cause something else to cause me trouble, when you're kind of favouring something and then something else pops up. So I just cut the run at 7k. I was planning to do 70 minutes, But I just went home. I just would much prefer to miss one day than a couple of days, or turn it into a week or month or whatever it could potentially turn into. So I was a bit annoyed with Monday because it was a public holiday and I was planning to do like a 16 8K double for the day, get like 24Ks in, but instead I only got 7. So that was annoying, but just had to cut my losses there. And then I watched Collingwood on the TV against Essendon. That's always good on Anzac Day. Good to see the Pies get a win there. Tuesday, I pumped a few anti-inflames in Monday during the day and iced it. And I think that helped because Tuesday I got out for 16K at 4:24 pace and could hardly feel it. Like, I was probably jogging for 5 minutes and fully forgot that I had ankle issues the day before. So having that extra 24 hours helped. Got my perfect 10K loop, fellas, for this fun run that's coming up. I reckon I've got it nailed. Just got to deal with some local council issues because it goes into 2 different states. I've got to go through 2 different councils to get approvals to use the paths and the roads and things like that. So I need a bit of luck there to get that across the line.
Looked about 90 metres short by Strava.
This is definitely not AM certified, this one.
Oh, there's a bit of run for a cause about this.
Yeah, so if you want to come to Echuca Moama, it's actually, I think it's going to clash with the Albert Park 10K I was looking at today, which isn't good, but it's going to take in all the highlights of Echuca Moama, a few river views, a few bridge crossings, all those kind of things. So, that was good to hopefully get this course nailed. In the afternoon, got out for 8K, 4:30 pace. Wednesday, so I put everything back a day. So instead of my Tuesday workout, I made it Wednesday. 5 by 5 minutes off 90 seconds. About threshold, 3:13 pace I averaged. The longer I went, the better I felt. This is a great workout, this one. I think I got it off you originally, Moose. It's like 5 reps doesn't feel that much. Like, it's pretty easy mentally, but you still cover a good amount of distance. But I just think for 30 minutes of running, 9K, 9 and a bit K, you work a couple of different, or you work the one system in there, but it just feels everything feels comfortable. So
what you do? What was your workout?
5 by 5 minutes off 90 seconds jog.
Oh yeah, threshold.
Just control.
Surely you're not going to let Moose claim that as a Moose session.
Sorry.
People have been doing 5-minute reps.
I think
I
think he gave it to me when he was on the program for a while.
However, Brad, everyone loves to go and punch a 30-minute threshold, but we know how much more difficult that is than breaking it into intervals.
Yeah, that's right.
I much prefer
6 by 6 minutes is even better off a minute
6.
recovery.
You know what I'm doing tomorrow? 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. I like that.
2 minutes at threshold.
I do it at threshold at the end because your heart's pretty. You have to get to threshold earlier in that one.
You won't. You'll jam at home.
2 minutes at threshold.
I might actually punch it home tomorrow. I was thinking because I've got a race on the weekend, so a little confidence booster. So keep an eye on my Strava tomorrow morning. 7K in the afternoon, 4:32s. Thursday, medium long run, hour 45 at 4:24 pace. Had a bit of rain, so all the trails were washed out, so I just had to stick to the hard surfaces, which I don't really like that much, especially for an hour and 45, but that was okay. 30 minutes in the Arvo Thursday. Friday was my recovery day, 70 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. The highlight of this run was I got the local legend through the old port of Echuca. So, like overseas listeners, you guys are probably familiar with Uluru, the big rock in the middle of Australia, Sydney Harbour Bridge, Sydney Opera House. Port of Echuca is probably 3rd on the list of attractions if you ever come to Australia. So, local legend of Port of Echuca right here. So you definitely know where to head if you're come to Australia for a holiday. And then Saturday, boys, got down to Parkrun. Echuca Moama 5th birthday for Parkrun. Remember when I was talking about starting that all those years ago? We were doing the show then, weren't we? 5 years?
No,
because that must have been road to Berlin.
Yeah, it would have been the start of road to Berlin.
Anyway, turned 5. Don't know where those 5 years are gone. So they invited all the people who helped start it up back down there. So I went down there. Hadn't been down there for a while. Got down there, jumped in with my mate Kaz. She was pacing the 22-minute group. Did my warm-up then, and then did some 2-minute reps afterwards. 7 by 2 minutes off 60 seconds jog. Kind of hovering around 2:58 pace for the average. Really couldn't be bothered doing this workout. I was like just tired, not in a great mood, but just had to tick the box and get something done. 7K in the afternoon, and then 2 hours 20 minutes solo on Sunday. Listen to music the whole way. Listen to Pusha T's new album, Moose. Listen to that.
Yeah, I listened to that.
What do you think?
It's all right. It's not, this new stuff's not my jam.
Okay,
I just want some. I want some old school like gangster rap. I want to hear from blokes who've been in the trenches, in the ghetto, just slinging crack. I want to hear their stories.
The stuff that you just cannot relate to at all.
Hey, Brady, aren't you racing this weekend?
Yeah, so I got this theory.
You're around 2 hours 20, don't you? Don't you normally cut your long run back week before a race?
I do, but only for A races. So I only cut them back when they're like super important races. And I hope Andy Buchanan's not listening, because the Bendigo Bats are in action this week. And I'm hopefully, they got the selectors meeting tonight actually, so I'm expecting an email to come through any time to show me what team I'm in, what leg I'm running, all those kind of things. But I haven't done a long run I did 2 hours last week, but I think the week before was that stall, Easter Monday. So if you race as often as me, you can't cut the long run a week out from a race every time. But I
not for these, you can't.
Not for cross country, because I've got another cross country race 2 weeks after this one this week. So it's like, otherwise I'll just never do long runs. So and because the race is often Saturday, Sunday, it just kind of wipes out that weekend long run. So I'm happy to go. This is called more an aggressive taper, where I'll just ease things off like Thursday, Friday, if that makes sense. But yeah, I know, I get your point, Brad. I could sound condescending. Is that the word for it?
Contradictory. Yeah, which I probably didn't I probably didn't articulate last week that in a way, like Sydney 10 was not like if Sydney 10 was say end of season, it was like I basically out to run a lifetime best, then yeah, it probably would have been a 90-minute long run, but it was basically just to go and see where I'm at off the training I'm doing. So that's why I still ran 2 hours.
But to move Sanaya's defence, we thought, this is your first race you've done in 3 years. We're like, surely this is an A race. You know what I mean? We're like, what's this guy doing fanging a 2 hour long run?
The way you talked about, you recapped it just then, that was a race you cared about.
Yeah, but what we spoke about as well was that I knew that I had not done the type of work that I needed to do for that to be an A race. Like I hadn't done that hard effort. So what was the point of the point of being super aggressive with a taper when I know that I'm underdone for the race anyway from the standpoint of, VO2 work or that real hard running. So this was more just, I hate to call it a rust bust because you still wanted to go there and run well, but it was to basically get myself race fit because I hadn't done anything like that. So anyway, we'll move on.
Jeez, you could break 30 this season.
Maybe.
Who would have thought you're going to be in that conversation to break 30 again? This is amazing. Anyway, I ran 162k for the week. Jells Park Relays this week. That's all I've got to report.
A leader in sports micronutrition, Pillar Performance is changing the way micros are used in running performance and for endurance athletes globally. Pillar has become the choice of Australian sport thanks to their formulation quality and batch testing program, currently working with Ben St. Lawrence, Izzy Bat-Doyle and Lucy Bartholomew, along with more than 40 professional sporting teams. Made by athletes for athletes, Pillar leaves no stone unturned when it comes to ingredient quality and potency. Offering some of the strongest formulations on the market, Pillar's range supports optimal recovery, elevates energy production, relieves inflammation, and boosts immunity. When it comes to recovery, their best-selling triple magnesium powder is a must-have for any serious runner, featuring 3 forms of bioavailable magnesium to optimize recovery, improve sleep, and have you backing up after every session. Ramping up your program in the lead up to the Gold Coast Marathon, Pillar's vitamin C and zinc is perfect to help fight off sickness while your training load is high during the colder months. The Pillar team has an exclusive offer for Inside Running listeners. Head to their website and use the code INSIDE20 to receive 20% off at checkout when you purchase 2 products or more. To redeem this offer, or for more information on Pillar's performance and their range of sports micronutrition, head to pillarperformance.shop.
Let's thank some Patreon supporters. Moose, you want to kick us off?
I can do that. We got Andy McConnell. He's from Canberra. So probably a little bit off centre. Ran 7:17 at the 100k. What? Ran 7:17
7 hours.
100. Yeah. At 100k championships last weekend, which is a
B qualifier for the world champs.
B qualifier for the world championships.
He's legit, Andy.
Yeah.
That's why I gave him to you. I know you love our 100k results.
Came third in the race. Also ran a 16:58 5k. When was that? The same day?
Like a week or two before. So
I think he's coached.
He came to a couple of those Tuesday night sessions at the track last winter, and I think he's with Run Crew. So, and he also finished second at last year's Coast to Kosciuszko Ultra.
Oh,
but it was like some years the weather impacts it, so they can't actually go to the top of Kosciuszko, so they just stop at Charlotte's Pass. But he finished second, and that's like a 240 odd K race.
Yeah, he's that's legit, nuts.
This guy.
Matt have a baby. Brady can't tell boys from girls. He's good at tracking shoes though. So Andy, kudos on the long stuff.
Yeah, good work, Andy. Croaks, who you got?
I got Jeremy Hargraves from Viewbank in Victoria. He's got some good swag and top off. What's that? He's got this top off in Strava.
On his Strava display picture. That's what DP means.
Yeah, I didn't know what DP stood for.
Do you know what DP was?
No.
Display pic.
Did you know what DP stood for, Moose?
I've heard it. I've seen it, but it's not what I'm thinking.
Top off in Strava DP.
I'm glad you backed me up there. I'm like, there's no way Moose is going to know what DP stands for.
Display picture. Get with it, fellas.
He's got a moustache, likes chocolate milk, and let's get to some of his PBs. So 17:17 for 5K, 82 for the half. 256 for the marathon, which he ran in Melbourne in 2019, with a 128.45 first half and an 87.31 second half. So that's how you run a marathon. So
that's solid on that course, isn't it?
Thanks for your support, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'm going to thank Joe. I only signed up with her first name, or his first name. Actually, this is a girl, Joe. Yeah, it definitely is, because I looked at her display picture, her DP, and it's a photo of a lady with blonde hair and enjoys wearing sunglasses going by the photo as well. So, Joe, that's all I've got on you. Bit hard to find anything else, but doesn't mean we're not thankful for your support with the lack of information there. So, Joe, Andy, Jeremy, massive thanks for your support of the Inside Running Podcast. Patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast if you want to help us keep the lights on. If the show brings you any value at all, you can support us financially to make the show continue to come out. Bring you good interviews, all those kind of things. Put on watch parties, all those kind of things that we do at the Inside Running Podcast. It helps us find the time and find the energy to do those kind of things. So massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. Second bit of running news, boys, was over at the Payton Jordan over at Stanford on the athletics track there. A few Aussies in action. Did you guys catch any of the footage? Flow track at it?
It was on a bad time, wasn't it?
It's like 3:30 on the afternoon. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, yeah, okay. So that's not a good time.
Was that Saturday? Saturday our time?
Yeah, Saturday our time.
I was driving to Sydney.
Yeah, I was just sitting around the house watching this. I actually missed most of the races, but I had it on in the background. The Steeple boys went first, I think. Matt Clarke was 6th in 8:28, and Max Stevens was 8th in 8:30. And then I reckon Lauren Ryan and Paige Campbell in the 5K. Lauren went 15:30, Paige 15:36. Isaac Hayne, I did watch his race in full. He was 9th. He ran, I'm going to say, an 8-second PB to run 13:30. So another kind of, he just keeps chipping away, doesn't he? Like a break 14-minute guy, break 14:50. I think he just, snuck under 13:40 at that Adelaide 5K, and now he's a 13:30 guy.
Still only 20.
Getting down there.
Yeah, and then you just see it when they go over there and do these races in the States. Like, just jumps on the train and just hangs on, just gets sucked along. There were some Brielle Erbacher. She was in the steeple. She ran 9:32 for 3rd, and Cara Feain-Ryan was 5th in the steeple there as well. And then Kai Robinson, I think this was his debut 10K. Tried to look up some results, which I'm not sure if that's right, because in the NCAA system they often do a few 10Ks, but I couldn't find any results for him. He ran 27:47 to be 6th in the 10K. So pretty big, a run like that, 27:47. If you did that 4 or 5 years ago, it would be pretty special.
Well, for a debut, and it probably is. If you can't find it. Yeah, if you can't find that, then that's huge. So that's big from both Isaac and Kai, both two 20-year-olds, kind of doing things differently. The future's there, definitely.
Interesting to see which event Kai sort of focuses on, because like we first spoke about him as a steepler. He ran some pretty decent times, and then he obviously runs a good 5K, and now he's stepping up to the 10. So it'll be interesting to see where he focuses to try and make a national team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's still, like, that's not going to do it, is it? Like, he's still 10 seconds off in the 5.
20 or so off in the 10.
Yeah, but I guess he's 20, isn't he? Like,
yeah, he's got plenty of time.
Don't have to make this year's World Champs of Com Games.
He's a name we'll be talking about for a few years, I reckon.
Yeah. All right, Krogs, listen to question.
It comes in from Mick Fallon. Do we still need to run on grass, dirt / soft stuff as shoe technology improves? Seemed sensible 15 years ago when we ran in bricks. Now the foams are so good. It's a good question.
That's a good question.
Well, I'm not the shoe guru, but I know that, like if I'm wearing the New Balance 1080 and I go for 30K on bike paths, I pull up from that feeling pretty good the next day. Whereas, 10 years ago, I would have definitely noticed it the next day. So it's a good point. Like maybe we don't have to do quite as much on the grass and dirt, but I still enjoy it, mainly from the mental health points of view. When you're out in the bush, I find that way more therapeutic and enjoyable than running sort of through suburbia.
But Bradley, when you compare it to bush, can you feel a difference? Like, I know you're saying you don't feel that bad, but do you feel like worse off in trails, dirt, soft?
What do I feel worse? Not so much.
Okay, you reckon it breaks even?
Yeah, maybe if I was as a one-off run, no. Like if I was to do a whole week on the concrete, then maybe I would. But as a one-off, I could go for 30K around the lake and feel just as good the next. If anything, I probably feel better because it's flatter, and so I'm not as banged up from the hills. So, yeah.
I got a couple of ideas on this. Straight up, I think we avoid concrete still as much as possible, and being on the grass or the dirt often involves more variability in foot strike, and I think that's always a good thing. When you run on a footpath or the road, every foot strike is the same. Your gait cycle doesn't really change, so there's a lot more repetitive stress on certain tissue. But if we get into the bush, all of a sudden we're up and down hills, we're on cambered surfaces, we got tree roots with little like there's rocks, whatever, and so we're starting to vary our foot strike. So immediately, I prefer all my athletes to get into the bush if they can for those particular runs. I mean, maybe recovery days, I still want them on soft stuff, but flat. And if they have to, then get on the road. Last resort. The other thing I think is that when you land on the dirt, there's a degree of slide underfoot, and so the impact isn't as harsh as when you're on the concrete, and there's no real momentum that your foot doesn't slide forward slightly. And again, this isn't very scientific, but when the outsole of a road running shoe, when it grips, when it hits pavement, it's a much more harsh experience that I feel. I don't feel like, when you run down a hill, Brad, you'll know, Brady, you don't know what hills are. So you run down, but your foot slides. And so there's way less impact coming back up. It's way less of a braking force. Yeah. But if you're on a road, it's a lot harsher.
You feel it through your knees a lot more, like on the road, I find, going down a hill. Yeah.
The third thing is, if you just these foams are so good, yes, and there's lots of it, yes, but it's changing where we take load most of the time. And so if you might put these foams on, you might feel better running on the road, but it's like we're seeing a lot, I guess not more injuries, but we're seeing a lot more injuries higher up the chain. And I think the foams can disguise the impact a little bit. You might not be getting as much sort of sore calves or those areas where if you were running on concrete a lot, you would normally feel it. But that doesn't mean that the load's any different. You're still feeling it up the chain. And we're seeing, anecdotally, you guys would have seen a lot more higher, proximal stress-related issues, sacral stresses, femoral stuff. And I think that's a result of the shoes that we wear now.
Good answer, Moose.
Does that seem to be more in elite than recreational runners, though, Moose, from what you've seen? I don't know many rec runners who are getting sacrum stressors, but I know a lot of elite, sub-elite runners who have.
Yeah.
But maybe they're spending more time in the like super shoes, not just like the, say the New Balance 1080 version 12 foam. Do you know what I mean?
I think we're seeing, I don't see as many, say a recreational runner comes in to our store, they typically buy one shoe, and that shoe, they tend to play it safer, so they'll go for something more conservative. And so they're not going into the crazy foams or the big high stack shoes. Yeah, so I think that's probably a reflection maybe that they're just like, although at the time, like the shoe decision might be the safe way, the boring way, it might even be better for them in the long run.
Keeping them on the park.
Yeah, that's a good point though, because there's probably other issues that play into that elite stuff, like are there nutrition, diet related issues like energy, that kind of stuff, which is big with bone stress, and pushing the limits. Like you got like, you're
riding the line a bit more possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Mick, for that question. Good one. Next part of the show, boys, is the shoe review. So thanks to New Balance this week, we're reviewing the 860 version 12. We did the 1080 version 12 about 2 or 3 weeks ago. This time it's the 860 version 12. Moose, before we start, New Balance tend to use numbers a lot in their shoes. Obviously, the V12 is a version 12 part of things, and every year, is it yearly or is it bi-yearly? They release a new version.
Balance, they've been on the yearly cycle, but you might notice like different brands are on different cycles, and I think going forward that you'll see those cycles become a little less regular. So instead of seeing 12 months, we might see 18 months, 2 years.
And is 12 months pretty standard? Or does
it has been. Yeah, it has been.
So then what's with the other numbers? So the 1080 and is there an 880 as well? And now this is the 860 we're talking about tonight. Where does that number come from? Yeah,
well, I mean, I don't exactly know where they come up with the number, but if you look back, you'll find that you can see like the New Balance barbecue shoes, like the 524 or something. If you remember, one of the best New Balance shoes of all time was called the 890. It was the Andy Badley, and there was a Jenny Barringer at the time, special edition shoes. They were fantastic, those models. But they were the 890. And so they sat between the 880 and the 860. Oh, they're just above the 880. And the 1080 is their most cushioned shoe. It seems like there is no consistency to it, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how they get their numbers, but it makes it pretty damn confusing, especially with training new staff.
You're trying to sell them.
Throwing that. This is the 880, 860, 1080, 870, 890. Like this is a 2E width, this is a D width, this is a B width. It's real hard. So I don't know. No answer. I'm sure there's an answer. Fuck, I bet you 10 people write in saying this is the answer, but I don't know it.
So where does this sit then, the 860? Before we talk about our experiences in it, like who does this shoe designed for? Yeah, where's it sit on your shelf next to like comparisons?
This thing's been out for years. Like the 860s was out. Well, I mean, you could say 12 years. It's been out since I started working in shoes, and it's always been very consistent. It's a medial support shoe. So on the inside, just under the medial arch area, is a high density foam. You can see when you look at it, there's like a wedge cutout. You can kind of, you'll see. Do you have it with you at the moment?
Yeah, I've got it in front of me. Yeah.
So you see the little, what colour's yours?
Mine's green.
Green?
Oh, you got a green one.
I got the black and white ones. How come you got green ones?
I got the all black, and they look good actually. They look real good.
Jeez, I got the worst cosmetic one out of all three of us, and I'm the best.
Nah, black and white's pretty good.
Yeah, I see that wedge moose. It's like a herring. It's like got a herringbone sort of.
Yeah, so press into it.
Yeah.
Feel how dense it is. Then feel the foam around it.
Yeah.
Feel the contrast.
It's a lot softer. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically like this is an old school medial support shoe. So basically, like they plug in a bit of, or they insert a wedge of high density foam because it's designed for a foot that pronates, and sort of pronate refers to like eversion of the ankle joint and what that means is there's more medial compression of the foam. So the inside of the shoe cops more load with someone that pronates more. And the idea is that this is firmer, higher density, so it doesn't compress. So, for instance, the 880, their neutral shoe, has the same density the whole way around. And a foot that pronates, there's no sort of resistance to that area of the shoe, and so they'll just continue to pronate. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's not the question here. This shoe here is designed to limit how much it pronates, and also it slows down the rate of pronation as well. So that's where this shoe sits. Similar shoes from other brands, Brooks Adrenaline, Asics kind of GT2000, Kayano kind of area. That's where we're playing. Mizuno Inspire.
Croaks, you've been testing it out. Tell us about your experiences with it.
Yeah. So as Moose said, like, it's a lot firmer. So it's funny now when you put shoes on, there's so many shoes out there with that soft foam that you almost forget how shoes like felt back like 10 years ago. And so when I first put this one on, that's how it felt. It's a lot firmer. I use this one a lot. Like I've mentioned it before, like every now and then my tib post starts to just play up a little bit. So when that does, I try and find the shoes that are a bit firmer or have the medial post, but also that straighter last. It sort of just seems to take a little bit of the load off that tib post, which means I can actually still get through my normal training load while managing the tib post with like ice and cement in flams, and like a day or two in these instead of like my softer 1080s and my tib post 100% again. So
it's a perfect
what I use it for.
Perfect use of this shoe. This, like, we often talk about, well, in the shoe nerd area, we talk about how medial support's been bastardized a little bit in the industry, and it all relates to sort of studies they've done where they've taken general populations of people and thrown support shoes or neutral shoes, and they haven't really found a difference in the rate of injury. But that doesn't account for specific injuries and trying to unload those injuries. So if you have like yourself, Brad, if you want to try to unload the tib post, which is the tendon that runs down the medial side of the ankle, that takes more load when a foot pronates, this is the kind of shoe you use to do it. And just as you're doing, this doesn't have to be the shoe you use forever. This could be a shoe that you use in times of flare-up, or if your load's increasing and you want to switch up the shoe that you're using just to sort of unload the area a little bit.
100%. Yeah. I think that's the value as well. Like, not everyone can afford multiple pairs of shoes, but there's definitely some benefit in having shoes for different purposes. And like, because back in the day, it used to be you have shoes for different purposes, but one's just for jogging, one's for sessions, one's for racing. But also in terms of if you're susceptible to certain issues, it's worth having like multiple shoes to deal with when those issues arise.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same sort of concept as if you tape your foot up or something like that. It is good. And this type of shoe, like, we should get into the actual details of the shoe. There's a top layer of Fresh Foam X, which is like that. I guess you've got the 1080, don't you, at home?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Fresh Foam X, but it might be Fresh Foam. But yeah, it's got like a top layer which softens. And underneath that is a strong EVA foam that's a lot denser than other shoes in the industry at the moment. So we find at the moment that this trend of softer cushion provides, it's not very stable. And so if you have someone who's quite a strong rear foot striker who lands in the shoe, let's say the 880, for instance, they're using a lot softer foam in the heel, then they might just compress it really quickly. They might not be a stable base to land on. They might, I guess the worry for being quite unstable is that you hit the deck and you have to basically call on your own tissue to stabilize yourself more, and you can start to get tendon-related issues because of that. But this foam handles more force. And what that means is if you're a bigger runner, you're putting more force through your shoe. You might find these new school foams don't last long. They feel unstable. They feel sloppy. This is the sort of shoe that you can put on and know it's got integrity and put a lot of load through it without any real consequence. So, I mean, I love this shoe at work. I feel like I've overdosed on soft shoes at the moment, and everything feels yuck and sloppy to me. So I put these on, and I'm using it everywhere. I'm walking the baby in it. I'm wearing it at work. I wear it even like just around town, just because it's just reliable.
So Moose, where does it sit then? Because it seems like it's going to be more durable than those soft shoes or soft foam shoes. But does that mean it's going to be more expensive or less expensive because it doesn't have that soft foam in it?
Well, because they've put that little slither of good foam in it, it adds to the price a little bit.
Soft foam. They're all good foams, aren't they? Which, I don't know.
Yeah,
I get lost a bit in this chat.
I say good because, like, New Balance will call it more premium.
Okay.
So,
that's there
but it's there. I mean, it's just different. But so they put that different foam in that'll increase the cost. So it's $230. I mean, if you compare it to some of the models, like the Brooks Adrenaline's $240, the Mizuno Inspire's $220, I think. So it's around about still. I mean, we do a lot of this shoe in the store because we see the value in it. The downside to it is that it's not that inspiring to run in. Like, it doesn't have a strong rocker. It doesn't, like, the foam doesn't give you a lot back. It's not bouncy. It's not light. A lot of people nowadays come in expecting every shoe to feel like a race shoe, and this doesn't. This shoe feels like a shoe from 5-10 years ago, which is safe for a lot of people.
Real blue collar kind of training shoe.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot of Ks out of this thing. You're not going to find troughs in it. I mean, another danger point for this shoe is someone who doesn't require the medial support, because they might find like they're overcooked a little bit and they don't pronate enough, or it sort of changes their gait to an unnatural position. So this is a shoe to come in and have a chat about.
Every time we do one of these croaks, I learn more and more. Just answer me this, Moose. When I put this on for the first time, these are my notes. Felt like my heel was higher than usual. Is that something on, like, do you guys call that offset or something? What's that called?
Higher than
Yeah, I just felt like I had
usual.
more heel under me.
I think what you're feeling is the firmness of foam.
Okay.
So the wedge at the
That's
back.
what I felt like I had a heel wedge in.
Yeah, well, it's a traditional heel wedge, I guess, compared to that, like the 1080 that you might have worn.
Yep.
This is about 2 or 4 mil higher, but it doesn't have that real rear foot rocker like the 1080. Like, you know how the 1080 kind of kicks at the back a little, and you put weight through the heel and you fall backwards off the back of the rocker. This doesn't have that.
Up. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is stable. This is for, like, we use it a lot for older people too who don't have a lot of balance. It's good.
Very good. All right, that's the New Balance 860 version 12. Thanks to New Balance for sending us a pair to review on this week's episode. The next segment, Moose, is Train & Talk. You're going to lead this segment this week because you're the wise man when it comes to all things training. But before I start, this week's Train & Talk segment is proudly brought to you by Lululemon. Lululemon have designed technical gear with the runner in mind to last more than a season. Head to lululemon.com.au to find out more. Some good kit there too, boys. I'm not sure if we have to review that anytime soon, but this is not in the script that I had to read. Some very, very nice kit.
Yeah. There is nice kit. Look good in the gym at the moment.
Yeah, looking good when I drop Hudson at daycare as well. A few mums at daycare really loving the Lululemon kit I'm getting around in. But anyway, let's talk about training. What do you got, Moose? What's Train & Talk this week?
This week, we're going to go pretty dull with it. We're going to talk about drills and strides post-run. So how many times a week, Brad, do you do drills and strides after your run?
Drills, like, almost never. Like, maybe a few sort of like butt kicks and a bit of like skipping type stuff. Strides once a week, like once a week outside of session days. I do them like before every session, but outside of that, once a week.
Once a week. Yep.
That's
so
good,
3 times a week though. 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And you, Brady?
I'd try to always do them on a Monday night, but I get lazy with them and often ditch them. So I probably hit them 50% of the year. 50% I just don't do them. When I've got a fast short race coming up, so if I've got a 5K or a 1500 coming up, I'm much better at like consistently hitting them there. But same as Croaks, I do them for my warm-up. But it really depends on how much time you got. But what I do find, and this is going back to that listener question that we had a couple of weeks ago about the YouTubers, they always have time and document this really well, drills and strides. Like, some of their warm-up routines must take them like 30, 45 minutes.
So, well, I mean,
I'm a busy man, Moose.
What I'm proposing though, Brady,
Yep.
is two things. A, get up 10 minutes earlier. B, and I know you won't like that, B, cut 10 minutes of your run off, and you'll benefit so much more from doing this on a regular basis than you will than doing extra 10 minutes jogging.
That's what I was doing before store. I'd do 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes in the afternoon and spend the last 10 minutes of that 30 minutes like banging strides and drills.
Why are you only doing it before stall?
And that's why I'm a 2-time Herb Hedeman winner, I suppose. Good point.
No, that's not why. That was your handicap. But why?
Good point, Moose. Good point. That's why I've got 2 stall sashes hanging around your neck as I record this week.
Yeah, talking about short courses, Brady's the king of running a short course.
Mine was officially short, okay? I knew what mark I was running off. Not doing 9.7k like all you clowns up there in Sydney.
Anyway,
no, it was legit. Don't write in about that. It was 10k.
We always get to the marathon block and we get halfway through and we think, oh, geez, I'm sluggish. Oh, I can't hit those short reps. And it's because, Brady, you deprioritize the strides and drills and mobility exercises that you could do regularly to help avoid those sluggish feelings. Because, yes, you get out and recover every day from your long run or your hard workouts and you'll recover at, say, 5-minute a K pace. And so you're doing an hour and a half at 5-minute a K pace. Then your workouts, you're running a lot of marathon pace stuff. And so what that might, I don't even know what that is for a 220 guy.
It's about 320 per K pace.
320.
Yeah.
So 320. So you're doing a lot at 320. And so then we get you to go and run 400s in 255 pace, and you go, oh, this is so hard. I can't get my legs going or whatever. It's not because you're doing a lot of slow stuff. It's because you've neglected the fast stuff that you can keep going. You don't get slow by you don't lose the speed aspect by running slowly a lot of the time. You lose it by not doing the drills, the strides, the mobility stuff that you used to do when you were doing the short work. And so I'm encouraging people. There are so many YouTube videos out there, but if you're not doing it before sessions, I think it's great you do it before sessions, but don't do it half-assed. I wouldn't. There's no value in going there and doing some bullshit little skips and a couple of half-assed heel kicks, and then 2 strides done at slower than your actual workout pace, right? And I see that all the time. I'm like, you've wasted 10 minutes right there. That is a 10-minute waste of time. You could have either been doing your workout and be going home earlier, or you can actually put effort into it and give it the justice, give it its due diligence, because you'll see an amazing benefit from it. So get yourself a routine. Get yourself a list of drills or strides. Watch the YouTubes. If you've got a coach, ask them about it. Practice the drills and strides. Do it 2 times during the week after easy days, or maybe 1 time. And then if you're doing 2 workouts, do it before the workouts and do the same routine of drills or active stretching, plyometric stuff, strides that you do before you would do a race. Because Brad, you get anxious before your races. This, not so much drills and strides, but having routine tends to help with anxiety like that. And if you can practice a routine that you do every single time that you race, you should get rid of nervousness, and it should help with those anxious feelings because you've practiced it so much. It's part of the thing. You get there, you start your first drill or stride, or you start your warm up, and all of a sudden you switch from kind of social social mode, jovial, fun, and you go, okay, it's time. This is what I do when I go to work. And I think if you practice enough, get the routine down, then on race day you do the same thing. You get yourself into the best frame of mind for it.
You've inspired me, Moose.
Yeah, it inspired me not to be. Sometimes I cut them, but you just got to hit them every Monday night, because I know how good they are for you, and I've got so much evidence that they've helped me pre-races and stuff before. And the best point you made was doing strides make race pace feel easier.
Yeah.
That's you can jump into a 5 or a 10K or even a 3K and you're like, this pace is okay because I've been doing strides pretty quick.
Yep. And you can use it to a degree for some strength stuff. This is the type of activation shit I want to talk about, Brad. This is it right here. This is that neuromuscular conditioning going snap, 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 snap. And then you get to the workout and all of a sudden your stride feels good.
But I sort of get though that now in a way you're sort of agreeing with me. Like Hills to a point have done the same sort of thing for me for the rest of the week in terms of just making you a little bit more efficient. Like this is another way of doing it. Yeah.
If you go back and re-listen, I laughed that you called it activation, and I never really had a crack until you fired up, because I agree. I'm all about this stuff. Yeah. I reckon it works.
Do you find, Moose, though, with this stuff that, like, I find if I've run for any longer than an hour, I feel complete garbage trying to then do drills and strides, because I think once you start running for a certain period of time, you do start to just tighten up. So I always try and do these on my shortest run of the week, which, would be like my 40-minute run. I feel much better after doing it at the end of a shorter run.
You feel better doing it, correct? But I think I've done this after a few long runs, and that is a weird feeling because my hips are really tight. I'm like tired, fatigued. I'm kind of sore in some spots. But what that's teaching my brain and I guess those pathways is that when I'm fatigued, it's teaching the fast twitch fibers to get going. Yeah. And so it actually does pay off doing that. And I know it's not very comfortable. And the last thing you want to do when you finish a long run is go and do that shit. And to be honest, I haven't done it in a while. I did it for a few weeks and it wasn't very pleasant, but I felt good. So I got back, had really tight hip flexors, finished the long run. And then you walk around, you do a few of these sort of active, like you do a few drills, some A skips, some B skips, some butt kicks, a little bit of karaoke type get up, and then a few strides, and all of a sudden your hip tightness is gone. And you're feeling good again. You get in the car and you're off and you're going, oh, gee, that was all right.
You should probably mention, though, like any training program, like ease into this sort of stuff. Like don't go out there and start doing like bounding and plyometrics. And even when you first, like if you do a few drills and then you start doing strides, like your first one or two strides traditionally feels pretty ordinary.
Be prepared for that.
So don't actually expect to like sprint from the gun and feel awesome. So just work your way into each rep. Like even the first 20 meters is just acceleration. Then, obviously each rep you do, you can probably go a little bit harder. And then by the time you get to like 4 or 5, you then feel amazing. But yeah, just ease into it.
Yeah. That's and do it properly. Watch Dathan Ritzenheim has good videos. You talked about it with Ollie Hoare the other day.
It's a great video, isn't it? Yeah, great
good video on the strides.
We'll put in the show notes and the drills. The drills.
Actually, Dave McNeil did some with. Was it Dave? Oh, gee, maybe not.
Andy Buchanan did some for Run to PB at the Bendigo track there. If you want to watch that video on YouTube, the 212 man, Andy Buchanan. Remember he was on the show last week. He put some on there. So that was a good chat. I like that, Moose. That's good. I'm going to be much more diligent in getting that done from now on.
I'm going to be watching your Strava to see what you're doing.
Yeah, and make sure you time your strides. I know we had a chat about that not so long ago, but this is why you time your strides, because you do them every Monday night for 6 weeks. I guarantee you're just doing them quicker and you're feeling smoother every week. So I just go light post to light post. And sometimes if I haven't done them for a month, I'm like, I'm hitting, 14 seconds. And then I can do the same things a month later and hit 13 seconds quite comfortably.
Do you know they're the 1%ers, but you're probably getting more than 1% benefit by doing them.
You get much more than 10 minutes on your second run.
Yeah. A little cheap thing again is start and finish somewhere perhaps where you're going to do them, where you know you're going to do them. I finish at my house, breakfast is right inside, I'm going in. Whereas if I start and finish, like if I drive 5 minutes away, start at like an oval, afterwards, take your shoes and socks off. It feels better to do them barefoot as well. And I think there's benefit in doing these things barefoot. I reckon, like I'm not a barefoot runner or anything, but I do believe in that it can help us in several ways. And I used to love finishing, like starting and finishing at a track and going on the infield and doing the drills and strides without shoes on.
That's silly advice, because you're going to get people who haven't run barefoot for 10 years. They're going to listen to this show, go to an oval and just start punching 100-metre reps in bare feet.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying consider it.
That's who you sound like, Nick Earl, with that kind of talk.
Mate, he does his whole workout bare feet.
Thoughts on doing it halfway through a run? So doing 30 minutes, doing some of this, then doing another 30 minutes.
You'll feel pretty good for the second 30 minutes, I reckon. You'll be covering the ground well.
Because I've often thought about doing that, but then, I don't know, it's
a bit half-assed, I reckon.
Part of me prefers to, I feel like I'm going to get more benefit from a consistent hour run. then stopping after 30 minutes.
Yeah, heart rate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
If that's how you've got to get them in.
Yeah. I haven't done that way, but I thought, maybe you could, but I'd prefer just to get the full hour run in. So that's why I choose to do it on one of my just real short runs.
Sometimes if I'm really battling for motivation, like when I'm 2K from home, I'll just start throwing them in. But like, I don't do them nowhere near as good quality as if I'm like stop, stretch, do some drills, go up and down the road out the front of home.
And the older you get, like I find now, like I used to do this stuff a lot when I was younger, and it used to come quite easy. And because I haven't done it for so long now and I'm a bit older, it does take a little bit more time to actually feel good when you do it. So don't be disheartened if you go out and you're doing some of these drills and you feel really unco and really locked up. Like it's common. Each week you do them, you will actually feel a little bit more coordinated, which is a sign that those messages are getting from your brain to the muscles that need to be activated.
Yeah. That's it. Some good value there, fellas. Good work. Thanks again.
So you said that word again?
I don't know. I was like thinking, what other word can I use? I'm like, stuff it. I'll just use activated.
Thanks again to this week's training talk partner, Lululemon. Their new running range is designed with lightweight fabrics, thoughtful features like key-sized zipper pockets and mesh paneling to keep you running whatever the weather. Visit lululemon.com.au to find out more. Moose on the loose, Moose. Bring us in. Finish it off. You got one?
Gee, nah. I've been seeing, this isn't a moose on the loose, it's just an interesting one to me. A lot of people jogging in their super shoes at the moment. Like vape flies, alphas, and
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Just going on jogs.
Oh, this is their one shoe. And
Nita was talking about this on Shoe Geeks.
Great for a shoe shop owner.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, it can be done. I start questioning. I'm going, gee, wouldn't it feel good to run in your super shoes every day? That would be amazing. Like, you would just get excited for every single run. But at the same time, I'm thinking they must wear out very quickly, and they're very unstable as well. Like, don't you just want to sometimes relax, like, and not have to be in the perfect position all the time? Which a lot of those super shoes.
Do you reckon they don't feel quite as good though when you're just jogging?
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I think there's an obsession with softness and bouncy right now. I just want some old school firmness back in my life, and we're seeing ranges at the moment. It's starting to see a little bit of that come back. Everything's getting there's a shoe. Oh wait, who's New Balance looking after this episode? The New Balance Super Comp Trainer. Whew, boys, have a look at the running company Geelong Instagram. You should.
Was that the photo you put up today, and then Ali put it up as well?
Yeah. So she got a pair last year. New Balance Fuel Cell Super Comp Trainer. This thing doesn't have a place in the. I've seen people say I want it for long runs. Then some people are doing workouts in it. Some people are jogging in it. Others are using it as like a Hoka style treatment shoe for their foot issues. This is something that's outside the box of what we consider, like outside our normal like shoe world. This is it's 50 millimeters high. It's 50 mil high, so it's the highest shoe we've ever seen. It's got a super stiff carbon plate. It's got so much super foam. It's an incredible feeling shoe. You know the glide rides you have, Brady?
Yeah, the Asics glide ride.
I think you might have them too.
Yeah, we got them for the show.
Yeah, we did we? Yeah, yep. Well, this has a similar rocket feel to that, but imagine it with
the foam around it.
Imagine it with the bouncy foam.
Because that glide ride's still pretty firm, but the rock is firm. The rock is the MVP in that shoe. But you're saying these two are together.
Well, yeah. So it might not be. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's like there's two shoes I put on the last kind of year and a half that have blown me away. This one and another shoe that I saw that's coming out early next year, which I can't talk about yet. But those are the two shoes. One of them's a super shoe next year, early, and then this one. It's not a super shoe, but it fits. It can be if it wants to be. But it can be in everything.
I love moves. I need some firmness back in my life. But hang on a second. This is the best shoe.
Yeah.
It's got 51
I'm
mils
not
of foam.
I'm not running in it, but I'm excited by it, but it's not for me right now.
Hey, can I ask you, is this new super shoe that's like beginning of next year, which is still ages away, is that the new like Vaporfly Alpha Fly? Like,
well, in my mind, no, it's not. No, it's not. But in the industry, I've put pretty much every super shoe on from every brand, and this is the best one that I've ever put on. Because
big call.
They have another super shoe, this brand, and I put the other super shoe on next to it, like literally side by side, and the difference was like astounding how different the current one feels to the new one. It's going to be fun.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. It's not till February. I mean, we're a long way off.
We've just gone into May.
It's a long way away, but oh man, I mean, I'm going to think about it for the next however many months, 10 months or something.
All right.
Yeah.
Something you can also think about is the Gold Coast Marathon Festival live show. We booked the venue, Croaks. Our partners have been locked in. A massive thanks to our Pillar Performance for coming on board as naming rights sponsor partner for this event that's coming up on the Gold Coast, first weekend in July. Tickets are going to go on sale on Friday the 13th of May, which is not this Friday, next Friday, to Patreon supporters. So if you support us on Patreon, we think that's a good way to reward people who support us on Patreon, to give them the first opportunity to grab a ticket. And then they'll be made available the Monday after that, Monday the 16th. They'll be available to the public then. Patreon also receive a $5 discount on tickets as well. So, and I don't know, I'm not saying this to try to get people to sign up to Patreon, but I know our Patreon numbers. I know how many tickets there are at this event. There could be a chance that they don't get released to the public, boys, if we sell this out like the numbers we've had in the past couple of years.
We sold out last year. Yeah, we sold out last year before we had to cancel. But
that was with public access, though. I'm saying they could go before we open them to the public.
Yeah, they could. Do you want to know where the venue is?
Yeah, you've been in charge of that.
Yeah, so that's all booked now. So it's going to be held at the RSL Club Southport on Scarborough Street. So pretty much like across the road from where the race ends.
Where the race ends? Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at photos now.
So close to Australia Fair there, that sort of shopping complex. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know where we're at.
So it'll be easy access. The light rail. Yeah, light
that
rail.
Tram thing goes up and down.
Yep.
Be able to have a couple of beers and get on the tram home.
Yep.
That'd be good. Moose, you booked your tickets? Booked your plane flights?
I booked the plane ticket. Oh, have I? Yeah, I think... I don't know.
Family holiday, Moose? Staying up for a week?
Nah, just a few, can't leave the store for that long, mate. Can't, not at the moment. We're busy right now.
We're busy. Back. Do the show.
I'm coming up Thursday night, maybe. I think No, I have to talk to Brady. She was in charge of this.
You reckon you're pacing the marathon again, Croaks, potentially? What about me and you go around the half?
Nothing's locked in at this stage, but
have you emailed him yet?
No, I haven't. I might have to get in touch with Ryan to see whether he needs a pacer.
That's why he's done this 10K, Moose, just to prove a bit of fitness.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't go and race there. Yeah. Like, geez.
Yeah. You could nearly win the 10K, Croaks. It's not won in much quicker than 30 minutes up there.
I don't know. I've really enjoyed pacing every year I've done it. It's like such
enjoy the dollars in your pocket.
Such a good vibe. I don't know. Like maybe I would pace and then finish it off just to actually post a time, because I haven't got a marathon time since 2018. And if you're what you're talking about, Brady, was potentially going to Valencia.
Big Christian can get us into Valencia.
I would at least want something on the board, like, maybe it's just mid 220s, but it's better than saying, hey, can you sort of help me out? I haven't run a marathon since 2018.
I don't know if we're going to get help now, Croaks, so I'm just hoping to get just a bib would be nice.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see.
An entry.
But I'll be on the Gold Coast anyway.
Something else to look out for this weekend. Sound Running have a track meet. That's what's called, Sound Running Track Meet. I haven't done the time conversion. It's on this weekend at some stage. Not sure what time it is Australian time. Brett Robinson in the 10K. Caitlin Adams, Paige, Campbell in the 5K. Rose Davies, Izzy Doyle in the 10K, Sam McIntyre, Isaac Hayne, Jack Bruce in the 5K. Now, they put Isaac and Jack in the B 5K, but after Isaac's 13:30, that might get him maybe shifted up into the A race, not sure. Abby Caldwell in the 1500. $4 to watch it on pay-per-view. I assume that's $4 US. Yeah, well, we'll find some details and put those in the show notes as well if that's something you'd be interested in watching over the weekend. Some of our biggest names going at it on the track, trying to hit qualifiers, I suppose, boys.
Yeah, well, they've had a good. Sounds like they've had a pretty good block up in Flagstaff training, so they'll come down and try and get those qualifiers.
Put it on the board. All right, we're done. What's coming up, Moose?
Oh, this week.
Are you going to go to Jells Park? You going to go watch the team?
I think I'm working. I don't think I can do that. I would like to. I was going to hold a clipboard.
Yep.
I got saw a great pic today. Got sent through on the messenger of the XCR 11. Remember that T-shirt?
Division 1 one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still running that one. Is that
How about I roll some names off? Let me roll some names off for all the old timers out there.
How much too long the struggle and Brad that they need to read names from 11 years ago.
Ryan Walker.
Yep, Ryan Walker's in there. Jason Antonelli, David Carver, Olympian.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Christian, Brett Coleman, Craig Mottram, Scott Nicholas, Rowan Perrott. Sure, you blokes know Rowan Perrott? God, he was a legend of the sport. Adrian Polidano, Darren Riviere, Brenton Rowe, we know him. Grant Simpson, Harry Smithers, still kicking around. Julian Spence, Rowan Walker, Nick Weightman, who I reckon he was second National Cross. Don't think he ever won one. Jason Woolhouse, he was good. Ross Young.
Kiwi, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Jason Woolhouse?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good miler.
Yep, that's everyone.
What about Brady Travel?
No, I can't see him.
I've got one of those. I don't think
your name made it on. Hey, you talk shit about Geelong, we're going to disown you.
It was 2011. A lot's changed since then. That's disappointing you won't be there. I was looking forward to seeing you in person. That's okay. You got to go to work. Croaks, what are you doing?
Coming out of Fashions on the Field retirement, we're off to Wagga for the weekend. Wagga, I should say.
Wagga.
Yeah, so we're going to head down there on Thursday till Sunday.
This bloke's really turned to Paige Moose. Hasn't raced, hasn't done fashion for years, and now he's doing two of them in 2 weeks.
Well, I think Viv's parents went last year. I think they won one of the categories, and it included like a catered day at the next year's meet. So so we get like some sort of marquee with a few beers. So we're down there.
That's where you're going.
Down there for a few days, which will be nice.
I've just got the email for the Bats team, fellas. Guess who's in the Premier Division team? Got the call up.
Well, there'll be you, Archie, Nate. How many in a team? Six. And then a couple of those
big names.
A couple of those brothers.
The Buckle twins.
Yep.
You'll know about it next week. All right, boys, we're done.
Have a good week.
Gotcha. See ya.
This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand. Head to pillarperformance.shop to learn more about their formulas and how they support recovery, elevate energy, and relieve inflammation.